Welcome to Families in the Millennium, where we seek to build faith in Jesus Christ through scriptures, the Come Follow Me program, and general conference talks. I'm Cindy. Welcome to Families in the Millennium. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to Families in the Millennium. I am so excited to be back, and thank you for your patience. Those of you who are still with the channel and following along, I am so grateful for you. The injury that I had sustained some months ago has taken longer for recovery than I had anticipated. But I am back and I'm so happy. And I'll be able to do at least once a week an episode. So make sure to subscribe and to set your notifications to all so that you get these when they drop. Again, if you've been part of the channel for any time, you know that we talk about signs of the times, we talk about church news, and we talk about especially how to follow Jesus Christ, because he gave us the perfect example. He knows the times in which we are living, and he is helping all of us. And we're going to talk about that at the very end. But first of all, I want to get immediately to something that Elder Caussé said in his first formal interview as an apostle. So I'm going to share that with you immediately, and then I invite you to stay through for the rest of the episode because I have several other very crucial things I feel for us to be able to remain in Jesus Christ during these, oh my goodness, intensifying times in which we're living. So I'm going to go immediately to something that just, oh my goodness. So let's look at this. Tell me what you think. Again, I'm going to go back to some of his other comments because they are very prudent and very important for the times. But it was this that called out to me. As he was being interviewed, he was basically saying how the work of the church involves bringing people closer to their Savior, Jesus Christ, and helping them be prepared for his second coming. Well, we've heard that, I interject, for like a while. We're preparing for the second coming of Jesus Christ, like for 20 years, like we're preparing. But if you've noticed, the leaders of the church, those called by the Lord, have changed their verbiage slightly, and it is very pertinent. It is now being changed to, we are the people that will greet the Christ. And so when Elder Caussé referenced how events are occurring around the globe, underscore how important that preparation is, and then look at this, how close that day may be. And he said, quote, a lot of things are happening. I recognize this is the Lord hastening his work. He has his plans and his timing. And Elder Caussé said, and we have to be ready for it. He then said, we know the purpose of the restored church of Jesus Christ is to prepare a people for receiving the Lord when he comes back, end quote. And that so jumped out to me. Here is the newest apostle saying and talking about how close that day may be. So in the midst of this interview, there was something else. And I don't know if you noticed this or if you even have the link to this, and I'm going to have this in the description box below. You just go underneath the video, click on the three little dots by the word more, and it will open up a box. And that's where you can find these links, both here at my channel and other people's channels when they include the links. But when Elder Caussé talked about how close that day may be, I always want to know, what do I do therefore? And I want to show you something really, really cool by way of a story that leads to a principle that I believe can shape our lives in so many ways and the lives of our loved ones. And it has to do with this. So again, we see the title of this news release at thechurchnews.com. He testifies of the Savior in his first interview as an apostle. But this to me, oh my goodness, says so much. So here's the context. It says in the news release, quote, on Thursday morning, November 6th, leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints gathered in a regularly scheduled meeting. Notice that phrase, regularly scheduled meeting. Now think of the 10 virgins. 5 were wise. Why were they wise? What kept them wise? So that when finally the bridegroom came, they knew him. In the midst of their daily, quote unquote, regularly scheduled meetings, their regularly scheduled lives, somehow they knew the bridegroom and they were ready when he finally came. this news release then talking about how leaders were gathered in a regularly scheduled meeting. Quote, the first presidency, the quorum of the 12 apostles, some general authority 70s, and presiding bishopric were in attendance. At the meeting's conclusion, the church's presiding bishop, Gérald Caussé, was asked to stay behind. And I interject. So this is just appearing normal. And as I think about Christ coming, and we know that from the scriptures, there's going to be 2 in the field and 1 will be taken, etc. It's like these, and we also know from the scriptures that there will be weddings and other things going on, and some will have been ready to greet the Christ in their patterns of these quote unquote regularly scheduled meetings. What makes the difference? Elder Caussé demonstrates this also in this interview, in addition to that very intriguing statement that it may be closer than we might think. So continuing on, quote, having served in the presiding bishopric since 2012, Bishop Caussé had met many times with the president of the church, first with President Thomas S. Monson, then with President Russell M. Nelson, and now with President Dallin H. Oaks. But Thursday's opportunity to speak with the prophet was different than any time in the previous 13 years. This time, Bishop Caussé would receive a new calling, a calling to serve as the newest member of the quorum of the 12 apostles, end quote. And I thought, how am I doing in my quote unquote regularly scheduled meetings, or in other words, the regular tasks of my day? For him, it was 13 years serving in the same calling. What did he do that helped him not fatigue, helped him be ready at a moment when he least expected it? Because look at this next part. He says, as someone who studied business in college, he had said his calling as an apostle was not likely based on sheer probabilities. Quote, the probability for this to happen to me is close to null, if not null, he said in an interview on Friday morning, November 7th, in the Joseph Smith Memorial Building on Temple Square in Salt Lake City. End quote. And this reminds me how in the Book of Mormon, when Christ had come to the Nephites, and we're reading in 3rd Nephi, all of these different chapters of their experiences, and then all of a sudden, Christ calls by name one individual out of this group of people. And it was Nephi. Nephi being called by name, being called from the group to come serve. And I firmly believe that for you and so many, this is what the Lord is waiting for us to determine. Will we be ready to be called forth out of the midst of our regularly scheduled events in our life? What are we doing to be ready to not only greet the Lord when he comes, but to be serving every day faithfully without worry for the future? And that was the second thing that it seemed to me I was being taught from the Spirit, that Elder Caussé just showed up every day, not worried for the future, simply diving in and working through regularly scheduled meetings, etc. And then it was at that point he was called forth to serve in a slightly different way. So he said, though, knowing how rare this calling is has led Elder Caussé to both reflect on his upbringing and to look forward to a future of testifying of the Savior. That fills me with a lot of humility, he said. It is clear to me the Lord has paved the road unknown to me. And then look at this. During the middle of this interview, on the screen, I am showing a picture, and it's a video of him through music testifying of the gospel as lived out in the lives of pioneers. And I would share this video with you, but I invite you to click on it so that you can watch the entire piano piece he plays. And I thought, isn't this instructive? That for each one of us, as we are called by the Lord simply asks us to show up every day in our quote unquote regularly scheduled tasks of the day, simply fulfilling the best we can, but being our own unique selves. I don't know, and please let me know if you've ever seen this before, but as an apostle who has been called, even if they had been musicians, that they played their instrument in the midst of their first formal interview. And I felt like the Spirit was saying, you can be simply what it is that God asks you to be and bring your unique talents forward. just like Nephi in the Book of Mormon was called forward by the Lord to bring his unique things that he was going to provide for his people. You, my dear friends, are needed in your own unique way. And it says here, he played Come Ye Saints. And I want to show you something in just a moment about that. But it says, just as that hymn covers a spiritual and mortal journey, Elder Caussé said he feels he is ready now for the chance to prove his testimony of the Savior. He said, I am grateful for the opportunity, for the incredible privilege it is to be a servant of the Lord until the end of my days. So yes, the thing that jumped out to me the most was here is yet another voice stating not only how the work of the church involves bringing people closer to their Savior, Jesus Christ, it is helping us be prepared for a second coming. And Elder Caussé remarked on how close that day may be. And then the second thing, that these kinds of important events happen in the midst of a regularly scheduled life. So I wanted to share this with you in closing, because I can't know exactly the depth of difficulties you might be facing right now, the sorrows that you might be carrying. But I have felt it as I have prayed for people here at this channel. And I wanted to share this in the spirit of Elder Caussé, the second verse of the song that he played, that says, why should we mourn or think our lot is hard? 'Tis not so, all is right. Why should we think to earn a great reward if we now shun the fight? Gird up your loins, fresh courage take. Our God will never us forsake. And soon we'll have this tale to tell. All is well, all is well. We'll find the place which God for us prepared far away, where none shall come to hurt or make afraid. There the saints will be blessed. Elder Caussé, to me, is so exciting as this newest apostle, because not only is he ready to share a testimony of the Savior Jesus Christ, but he is echoing President Nelson's words that the second coming may be closer than we think. And to me, the blessed news of that, coupled with the fact that if I simply am going about my regularly scheduled life, seeking to serve, seeking to know the Savior, that all will be well when Christ comes and we will be ready. So yes, Jesus Christ gave us the perfect example. He calls witnesses today in our time, just as in olden time, to bless us and give us the good news of the gospel. And I am so thankful for you. Please, if there is someone in your midst that comes to your mind right now, as you look at this picture of the Savior seeking to help this elderly gentleman who's had clearly such a rough life, as indicated on the screen, this picture, this image, please reach out to them and give them the good news of the gospel that Jesus Christ is coming soon. And all we have to do is hang in there in our regularly scheduled tasks of the day and seek to lift and to preach Christ, and all will be well. Okay, that's all for today. I'm so excited to be back. Please let me know what you would love to have me explore and to dive into on this channel as we move forward to prepare to meet the Christ. I love you, my friends, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.